Hey everyone, welcome back to Cosmic Life Astrology. Today I'm going to be talking about the solar eclipse in Aries and the week of April 8th through the 15th. I'm going to talk about the weekly astrology first and then dive into the solar eclipse because we have a lot to unpack with this eclipse. So on Monday we have the solar eclipse in Aries, conjuncting Chiron and the North Node at 15 degrees of Aries, as well as Mercury retrograde at 24 degrees of Aries. So we have a lot of key players in this eclipse. We see Jupiter and Uranus about 2 degrees apart, which are also influencing us right now. On Tuesday, we will see the moon in Taurus make a square to Pluto in Aquarius. I think this is going to be an emotionally triggering day, possibly a challenge in our values and our communities that we're a part of. And so I would be mindful of what may come up. This could be like an after effect of the eclipse as well. On Wednesday, we will see Mars conjunct Saturn at 14 degrees of Pisces. This is going to be a difficult one because Mars wants to forge ahead and Saturn is basically the stop sign and will not let Mars go. You know, we've seen Saturn in Pisces for the past year, forcing us to do the spiritual work and really making us be grounded in what we're trying to accomplish. And with Mars in Pisces, Mars is not comfortable in Pisces. He's home in Aries. So he's already walking through mud, trying to get to where he's going. And with the conjunction to Saturn, this will definitely bring up some kind of blockage, some kind of, challenge to what Mars is trying to pursue. So this could be also a power struggle. So keep a lookout to what happens on Wednesday because that is not an easy energy to navigate with a Mars-Saturn conjunction. On Thursday, we will see Mercury retrograde cazimi over the sun at 22 degrees of Aries. This is an interesting cazimi. I mentioned it during my Mercury retrograde video. That when this happens, it's going to act as a highlighter. There's going to be some kind of communication or information that's brought to your awareness for a reason, and you're going to be going back over it during the Mercury retrograde cycle. And it's important for you to know. You may not like what is brought to your awareness at this time, but it's something that you need to know and need to consider, especially during the Mercury retrograde cycle. On Friday, we'll see the moon go into Gemini and square Saturn in Pisces. This is going to be, the first thing that comes to my mind is a crossroads. You know, the moon in Gemini is double-bodied, the sign of the twins. We're talking about two possible options or two possible ideas because Gemini is an air sign and is ruled by Mercury, so it's very cerebral. Making a challenging aspect to Saturn. So Saturn's going to require Gemini to be disciplined and slow down and possibly make a choice between one thing or another. On Saturday, we don't really see too much going on, but on Sunday, we will see a few conjunctions that are somewhat important to know. Jupiter and Uranus will be about a degree apart, and they are building closer and closer together towards their official conjunction at the end of the month. We see Mercury retrograde about a degree away from Chiron, so this could be a triggering communication day or maybe a conversation that needs to be had to bring some healing. And then we see Venus approaching a conjunction to the North Node. She'll be about 4 degrees away from the North Node. So this will start to accumulate a possible opportunity for bringing harmony and peace into a situation so we can move forward. So let's dive into the solar eclipse in Aries happening on Monday, April 8th. Like I mentioned before, this is going to conjunct Chiron exactly. It will be 4 degrees away from the North Node, and it will be 5 degrees away from Mercury retrograde. So we have a few unique situations happening with this eclipse. You know, a solar eclipse is primarily influencing public figures, authority figures, male figures, especially. Lunar eclipses are more emotional eclipses. They have to do with female figures, our personal and home lives. And so, you know, when we break it down, this solar eclipse is going to be significantly impacting males and authority figures. And especially it being ruled by Mars, there's definitely a more masculine energy to this eclipse. And looking at the ruler of the eclipse, Mars, being in Pisces, Mars is not functioning at his best. So I don't think that this is going to be an eclipse that will have a very fast impact. There may be a slow beginning that transpires with this eclipse. However, with the conjunction of Chiron, we're talking about a very strong opportunity for healing. If you haven't been doing the healing work that Chiron has been asking us to do for about a year now, especially, now is the time that you're going to be forced to do the healing work. If you've already been doing the healing work, this will be a graduation point for sure. This will be, okay, you did the healing you were supposed to do, now you can have that new beginning. Especially with a solar eclipse near the North Node, we're being, you know, pulled forward so we can progress in our life. When it comes to the influence on public or authority figures in our society, we already see this starting to play out. In the past week or two, we have seen a documentary on Netflix about some hidden events that transpired at Nickelodeon with children and an authority figure that took advantage of his power and influence. And, you know, we've seen victims come forward in that documentary. And also in the past week, we saw news regarding Puff Daddy and some wrongdoings that he's involved in. And obviously that is still developing, but I think we're going to see a trend of things like this come up over the next 6 months, because the solar eclipse does take about 6 months to come to culmination. And I think we're going to see a lot of trends about people being exposed for causing emotional wounds for one reason or another, especially those in the public places, and, you know, authority figures and male figures as well. I think that this is what is needed. You know, we've seen a lot of similar themes play out over the past 5 years, especially where the skeletons in the closets are being brought out, and it is no longer something that is tolerated with the universe to have these things hidden any longer. So getting back to the more personal side of things, I think with the eclipse conjuncting Chiron, we're going to feel a significant opportunity to begin a powerful healing journey, and a new beginning that brings us healing in its own way. You may have been doing healing work, but some kind of new experience may come as an opportunity that brings additional healing. You know, if you had a broken heart, this could be where, you meet someone that brings you extreme happiness. If you had healing with, career and finances, this could be where you finally get that ideal job or position that you've been wanting all along, that brings you financial success and, helps change your life. So this could play out in a lot of different ways. With Chiron being the key player, there's a very strong component for healing. And with Mercury retrograde involved, it's only 5 degrees away from the eclipse point, which means that there's a need to pay attention to details. There's opportunity to have conversations with people from the past that can bring healing or maybe reconciliation. And when we take a look at what Chiron has been up to, on July 23rd, Chiron began its retrograde in Aries at 19 degrees of Aries, the same degree point that we see this eclipse happening. And so when I noticed this, as I was looking at, the different aspects of this eclipse chart, my initial thought was, whatever transpired, especially at the beginning of that Chiron retrograde, there's going to be like a flip of the script, a potential to turn something around. There may have been some kind of wrongdoing, some kind of wound that happened during that time, where you now have an opportunity for a new beginning, or to change things around for the better with the solar eclipse conjuncting Chiron at that same degree point. Whatever it is, whether it's a person, a place, or something, that occurred, it definitely will be brought up again in some way during this eclipse season. There will be some correlation to it. So be mindful of what was happening during that time. Chiron had its retrograde between July 23rd and December 27th. So, you could definitely see something take a turn for the better. That may have been difficult over the past several months while Chiron was in its retrograde, and has been basically, slowly getting back to the same degree point that it started the retrograde at. And so I want to point out, because a lot of people are concerned about the eclipse, if you have anything with 19 degrees or around that 19 degree point, give or take 3 degrees prior or after, take a look at what you have in your chart, because any connections that the eclipse has to that natal planet or point in your chart around that 19 degrees, it will have an effect, and that will be an added factor into how this eclipse plays out for you. For any of the fire signs, Leo and Sag, that will be a trine, which will bring an opportunity. However, trines, because they bring an easy opportunity, are sometimes known as a lazy aspect, because it's so easy that you may miss an opportunity. So be mindful of that. For the Geminis and Aquarius, this will sextile any placements that you have there, which will bring some harmony in that connection. Obviously, for Libra, this is going to oppose whatever you may have around that 19 degrees of Libra, which can bring a challenge, but something that needs to be integrated within those two opposing points, right? You need to find a middle ground. And if you have any Cancer or Capricorn placements, this is going to square those placements around the 19 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn, which will bring a challenge, but a needed challenge that forces you to make some changes. And so with that, I also want to say, With this eclipse, and any eclipse really, if you are out of line with where you should be in your life and your journey, eclipses will shake things up to bring the needed change in order to get you back in line. It's a course correction. If you've been off course in your life and where you need to be on your journey, this is going to force you into the lane that you should be in. So it's not something to be feared. It's necessary. You don't want to be traveling off course for a long period of time, just kind of wandering through life and realizing later down the road you're not where you want to be. This is an opportunity to help align you with where you want and need to be. And so I wanted to mention that because a lot of people do fear eclipses. Yes, they're unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen with them, but what does happen is what needs to happen. And some people don't see big changes happening, and that's just an indication that they are in line with where they need to be at that point in time. And that's a wonderful thing as well. Now, overall, as a country, this eclipse is going to affect the USA very strongly. And because this eclipse lasts longer than the last one that we saw happen over our country, it's going to have a longer effect, okay? So the totality is, I believe, like 7 minutes, I forget. But the totality indicates how many years the eclipse will impact, right? And the last time we saw a total solar eclipse was in August of 2017. And if you were to look at the path of that eclipse, it actually makes an exact X from what this path of the Aries eclipse is going to have, which is an interesting little fun tidbit. I think the overall reason for that is to help the US make changes and have new beginnings where it needs to as a whole, and to impact the entire country, hence making that cross across the country to make sure that every area of the country is affected for those new beginnings that need to take place. Some people have other theories, that's just mine. And so I think we will see some positive developments from this eclipse. I mentioned this during my Mercury retrograde video. Having a Mercury retrograde in the middle of two eclipses is pretty significant. We don't see that happen very often. And it indicates a need to basically slow down and look at the details while we're closing one chapter and starting a new one. And while we're trying to plan something new in our life, okay? Whatever it may be for you, there's a need to take a look at the details and really reconsider what it is you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to start, and if it is right for you, especially when we're talking about eclipses happening, and they tend to be a course corrector. If you were going about something the wrong way, this is going to shake you up and show you where you may be going about the wrong way, and lead you into the right direction. And to top it all off, 2 weeks later, we will see Jupiter and Uranus officially conjunct in Taurus, and that's going to be an added support for change and progress. We're talking about the two biggest planets combining their energies and to bring great changes. So we have a lot of significant astrological energy happening during the month of April, and they're basically going to be a significant boost to the entire year, to bring great change and development into our lives, into our society. And I think it may be unpredictable. It may be, a little nerve-wracking, but I think overall it's a very positive and very much needed. We've gone through many months of retrogrades and, started the year coming out of those retrogrades and all the planets going direct. And now it's like, we're given some added seeds of opportunity to really get a jump start on what we're trying to plant in our lives and what we're trying to really blossom during this time. So, sorry, it's springtime. I have to add in a little happy energy. I digress, but it is a very positive influence. So I will be making a separate video probably within the next week or so about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. It is a big one. I've been following it and trying to study it for months because for me, it's conjuncting my North Node in the 12th house, which is a very complex place for it to be happening for myself. I've been studying it. I have a lot to say about it. And I will be making a video shortly on that. So stay tuned for that video. And if you found this helpful on understanding what the eclipse energy can bring for all of us, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, share your thoughts. Let me know how you feel this affecting you, how the eclipse season has been for you. I would love to hear from all of you guys. So have a great month. I'll talk to you soon.